And it's wonderful to be on a wisdom walk with this wonderful community that fills me with love and warmth every time I am engaged with you. This is a time of Christmas, a time of Hanukkah, and it is also a time of the indigenous cultures and the goddess traditions that honors this time of the year as the winter solstice. It's a time where there is the largest amount of light, largest amount of darkness, and the shortest time of light. And it is a symbol for us to make that journey. Something that has impressed me about this time of the year is what I learned from these traditions about the darkness and the light. And so we're in this context awakening the inner hearth to both return to ourselves, to require that we tend the inner fires and that we awaken the inner light as an illumination that is needed in the world. So first, the hearth is more than a fireplace. It is symbolized by fire, and it is one of the most ancient symbols of home. When we awaken the inner hearth, we return to ourselves, we come home. The goddess Hestia is associated with the hearth. It's part of the traditions in the evolution of consciousness that there is a time where we explained the world through metaphors, through symbols, through archetypes. So when we think about Hestia as the goddess, she reminds us of that part of ourselves that knows how to turn within and find the inner light. And she was revered during ancient times. She's known as Hestia in ancient Greece and Vesta as the Roman name. But she represents this ability for us to turn our houses into a home and bring in the sacred through all of the activities that go on in the home, whether it's cooking, meditating, gathering for celebrations. This is part of the year that calls us inward. Now, I don't know about you, but I find this a busy time of the year. And even when I feel this desire to go inward, I'm challenged by the activity of bustle and shopping and making sure everybody has a card and doing all the things that are a part of the doing in the culture. And so the wisdom of calling in awakening the hearth, the wisdom is to not miss the opportunity that being with the darkness calls us to do. It's very different to look at the darkness as something that we want to get out of as soon as possible. It's different to look at the darkness not as something to fear, but as something to revere. Because it is in the darkness that gestation happens. We think in winter there are no leaves on the tree, so everything is death. But actually, there's a working of an inner process, an alchemical process of development, of growth, of new life that is happening. So the earth-based traditions honor the winter season as a time of rest, transformation, and gestation. So we ask ourselves, what is it that wants to be revealed for us in this time of awakening the hearth? The darkness is not to be feared, but revered. And so I had an experience a number of years ago that was my dark night of the soul, one of them. And when I talked about moonlight skiing last week, there's a story that goes before that, so I'm glad I have a little chance to tell you. 4 years earlier, I had an experience of collapse. I was at a new job at University of Wisconsin. I had a new marriage and a new stepdaughter. And I had this prayer at the time of, I am willing to go anywhere where I'm needed to teach. I would just prefer that it not be cold. So I wound up in northern Wisconsin, where the newspaper of the students had a cartoon of somebody in bathing trunks catching the rays of the sun with the caption, "Thank God it's zero." This was a cold place. And so I just, the combination of all of those activities of a new marriage and a new job and having been on the fast track for several years to get to this place, the winter sealed the deal, and I got double pneumonia. And so what it did was it forced me to be still. I couldn't lie down, and my family would be sleeping, and I would be in this tweed brown recliner, lighting a candle and remembering what was important. I had forgotten to come within, to rest. I was going to do it. I kept thinking that it was going to be just one more thing, one more project. But then the universe helped me. And so the 2x4 experience is the universe's last result, last approach. But what happened was I awakened the inner hearth, and I wondered to myself, where had I been? I loved meditation. Why hadn't I been practicing? Oh, I was too busy. I was too caught up in my responsibilities and in the family, responsibilities. But something changed for me. The remembrance of the importance of turning within and being illuminated by the darkness changed me. And I came home to myself. So the awakening the inner hearth is a place of returning. 'Tis the season to be jolly right now, but it is also the season to be blue. There's something called Blue Christmas, and it's a wonderful concept because it brings into the realm of possibility that this time of celebration also brings with it a time of sadness or grief or loneliness. And what's wonderful about the goddess traditions and looking at the darkness differently is that the darkness becomes also the womb of creation. And anything that one is feeling or experiencing can be embraced in this womb, this divine love that has no ends, that has no restrictions, that we are loved wherever we are in this time of darkness. So whether our darkness is an overcommitment of work, illness, the loss of loved ones, a diagnosis, chaos in the world, we're called to go within that darkness that we have the courage and the capabilities to honor that darkness and learn something from that. I learned so much. It was something that then I could experience. I never knew that I had some of the resources that came forward. I never knew that I had not listened when I was getting direction. Tried to correct that after that time. So we're asked to enlarge our scope of experience to include not only the joy, but also the sadness, also the time of being blue. And there are other metaphors in these traditions that help us make that journey. The journey of Persephone, the goddess who is a child and gets abducted into the underworld when she was least expecting it. Because that's the way life happens sometimes, right? All of a sudden, we're abducted into an experience of darkness. But what happens to Persephone? Persephone grows from that experience, and she comes from her lost innocence of being a child to the mature queen of the underworld, that she may use her experience to help others who are going into the darkness. And she does that. She becomes the queen of the underworld and helps people make their own journey into the darkness. So that there's power in this. The inner hearth requires tending. When we think of the fire, we have to tend it. We have to feed it, whether it's a source of wood or a source of electricity. We have to tend the fire. What does that mean? We have to reserve time to meditate. We have to pray. We have to do those activities that allow it to grow, that allow it to be resourced. The womb of creation is able to embrace the wholeness of everything, and that includes all of our experiences. So, what is it to awaken the inner light and have it be an illumination in the world? There's a time right now where there's a great need of bringing our mature experiences, our transformed experiences into the world. The inner hearth is not isolated to just being an experience of meditation. The hearth becomes a part of communal life, and in ancient times, that was understood, that the hearth becomes a time of connection with family, bringing the sacred into everyday life, bringing the sacred into the heart of the home, where you can cook and nourish and enjoy others. And there is an experience in this season of darkness and light where there is a Jewish tradition called the Tikkun Olam. It is a time of repairing the world, a Jewish concept of having human responsibility. And I know, since I've studied other traditions, that this responsibility and this impulse of service is shared by many other traditions. In fact, that's one of the concepts where they all come together to be of service to others. And so the Jewish concept is to perfect creation through acts of social justice, compassion, ethical living. And while the world is broken, these acts help to elevate the spiritual sparks and return it to wholeness. While its roots are in ancient texts like the Mishnah, its modern meaning emphasizes social action, environmentalism, human rights, moving beyond purely religious observance to universal betterment. We're called to be a light in the world. We can appreciate others' experience of darkness when we go through our own. It gives rise to compassion. So there is a blessing of this time. May those who grieve be spared false cheer. May sorrow be met with gentleness. May the light return in its own time. When we come out of the winter solstice, we have a minute of more light every day. It's a gradual process. It's a slow process. Asked of us to participate in that in a very fast-moving society. So we don't want to miss that chance. Let's just turn within for a moment to put these pieces together. That we are called to awaken the inner hearth. That as we do so, it returns us to ourselves and to the posture of balance between the darkness and the light, the yin and the yang, a time for rest and a time for activity, and that by balancing these, our life becomes better. Our availability to be with others is better. But there is something that we need to do to stoke the inner fires, to illumine the life of our hearth. And as we tend the fires, as we go within and practice what it is that we know is a way to connect with spiritual source, then we are developing our inner light that illumines the world. Let there be light. Let there be peace. Let there be kindness. Let it begin with me, but not stop there. 'Tis the season to be you. 'Tis the season to hold the world as our sacred, all of our relations. And I lovingly give thanks for this healing presence that each and every one of us is. Let there be light. And so it is.